Hi everybody, in this video we're going to talk about word and sentence stress. But don't worry, we won't get stressed. We will just have a look at word and sentence stress when we speak. Let's start. Here's an example. The word happy. We have two syllables, happy, and the first syllable is stressed. And we can show this by using stress bubbles. Each bubble stands for one syllable, and the big ones stand for stressed syllables. So happy. So stressed syllable is big, and the unstressed syllable gets a small bubble. Of course, we could also have words like hotel, also two syllables where the stress falls on the last syllable, hotel. So this is word stress, and yes, we can use stress bubbles. Now let's have a look at sentence stress. Here is a short question. What are you doing? We can also use stress bubbles to show the sentence stress. The sentence has 5 syllables, and the first and fourth are stressed. What are you doing? Here is another example of a short phrase. This chair is expensive. Here we have stress on the second syllable and the fifth. So you can use stress bubbles to show word stress and sentence stress. Now we're going to have a look now at this specific stress pattern to help us identify word and sentence stress when we hear it. And we're going to use a fun activity and a song. But first of all, let's become familiar with the pattern of our song. We're going to use the pattern of this sentence that I just showed you. What are you doing? This will be our pattern, 5 syllables, and the first and fourth syllable are stressed. Sometimes it helps to hum the stress pattern so that you become a bit more familiar with it. Let's add some more examples. Where are you going? Exactly the same pattern, 5 syllables, and the first and the fourth are stressed. Monday and Tuesday. Mary and Joseph. 7:15. Isn't she lovely? Now, can you think of another one that would follow this stress pattern? So you can see, although the sentences, when we write them down, look very different in length, actually, all of them have exactly 5 syllables and they follow the same stress pattern. I'm going to read it out once more so you can really hear the rhythm and that it's exactly the same in each one. What are you doing? Where are you going? Monday and Tuesday. Mary and Joseph. 7:15. Isn't she lovely? Of course, I'm exaggerating a little bit so that you can hear the stress clearly, but I hope this makes it clear. And I would encourage you to think of another example with the same pattern. And if you're watching this live, you can put it in the live chat. And if not, you can put it in the comments below. Now, we're going to use this pattern for our main activity now. You will need to look at the picture that I will show you in a moment, and you have to write down what you see. Now, and that phrase should have exactly 5 syllables, and it has to follow the pattern. So 5 syllables, first and fourth, have to be stressed. Okay, let's start. We'll do the first one together. Here is our first picture. Now we want to describe this picture, and our little phrase has to follow this pattern. So what can we see? You can put your suggestions in the chat box, but I'm going to help a little bit. Here we have some roses. They are pink. I think they look lovely. And there are also raindrops on the petals of the roses. So, raindrops is a word with 2 syllables, and the first syllable is stressed. That could be the start of our phrase. Raindrops on roses. That would work well because we follow exactly the pattern. Raindrops on roses. We have 5 syllables and the stress is in the right places. But of course, we could come up with another phrase as long as the pattern is the same. So if you have a better suggestion, put it in the chat box. Raindrops on roses. This is my example that I will put. Let's have a look at another picture. I love kittens. I hope you do too. That's why I put a picture here. Now, let's look at this. We have a baby cat. We call this a kitten. It looks into the camera. It's fluffy. It has big eyes. And we can also see the hair from its little nose. It's quite long hairs, and I don't know if anybody knows, but we call this hair whiskers. The hair at the front that stands out much longer, those are whiskers. Very important for a cat to have whiskers. So, how could we describe this picture? We could say fluffy, cute kitten. That would work. But I want to add whiskers into my phrase. So I'm going to say whiskers on kittens. 5 syllables and stress in the right places. Whiskers on kittens. Okay, ready for the next picture. Let's have a look here. This is a bit of an unusual photo maybe for some of you. It's an object from the kitchen and we use it to boil water if we want to make tea or coffee. If you know what we call it, put it in the chat. And it's called a kettle. Okay, this is a kettle, not an electric one. You have to put this on a stove. It's a kettle, and what material is it made from? I think it looks a bit orange. I think it's made from copper, and it's very bright and shiny. So let's describe this photo using our pattern. So bright is a nice adjective, I think. We could use that, and copper as well. And obviously we need to use the word kettle because that's what it is. So how about bright copper kettle? Let's have a look here. Okay, bright copper kettle. Now, officially, the word copper should also be stressed, but because we are going to write a little verse for a song, we're not going to stress it. Usually, adjectives would be stressed though. So we have bright copper kettle. And if we say it like this, it fits our pattern. Ready for the next picture? Let's have a look at this. That makes me think of winter. Those are things, pieces of clothing that we use in the winter when it's cold. Now, some of you might think it's a hand shoe, but no, this is not what we call it in English. We call these gloves, but Those here are not really gloves because we don't have individual fingers. If all the fingers apart from the thumb are together, we call those kind of gloves mittens. Okay, and what material are they made of? Well, they are made of wool. And they're knitted and they are red and yellow. So there are quite a lot of ways that we could describe those mittens. I'm just going to say that they look warm. They obviously made from wool, so we could use the adjective woolen and then mittens. Okay, so warm woolen mittens. And now we have a similar thing that we just had before. So warm woolen mittens. Woolen, yes, it's an adjective. It should be stressed, but we're not going to stress it. We're going to put the main stress on warm and not on woolen, and then on mittens, first syllable. Warm woolen mittens. And then it fits our lovely pattern of stress. Okay, so we have already 4 lines for this little poem or verse for our song. Let's look at one more. And the last one will be a little bit longer than the ones that we had before. So we are going to follow a slightly different stress pattern. Have a look here. So the last phrase must have the stress pattern as follows. I know it looks very long. Don't be scared. It's 10 syllables, okay? So instead of 5, we want to have 10, and it's a little bit longer, and the stress is different than in the one that we had so far. Now, we need a photo. So let me show you the photograph for this last line with the new stress pattern. Here we go. Here is a picture, and what can we see? Now, this looks like Christmas time to me. Those are hopefully presents, and we could call those rectangular presents parcels or packages. They look wrapped up in paper, but not the sort of modern wrapping paper with images on them or patterns. It's just brown paper, and then they also wrapped around with string. So it's not rope or anything or thread, it's called a string, okay? It's what you can use to tie up a package like this when you send it in the post or when you give it as a present to someone. Okay, so we have quite a lot of words. We need to fit that into our syllable pattern here with the right stress. So how about brown paper packages tied up with string? Let me write it down for you. That would describe the photo, and we follow the right pattern. Brown paper packages tied up with string. There we go. Okay, perfect. It's 10 syllables, and we put the stress exactly on the right places of the big orange circles. Okay, so there we go. We have our little verse for the song. Let me just show it to you on the next slide. And I'm going to read it out again. Raindrops on roses, whiskers on kittens, bright copper kettle, warm woolen mittens, brown paper packages tied up with string. Now, does this remind you of a song? Hopefully. It is a song from the very famous film, The Sound of Music. Now, in this film, the lady that you can see in the picture here, played by Julie Andrews, is a nanny in a family. And one night there is a thunderstorm and the children all get scared. They go into her room, because they're frightened, and she tells them, you know what you have to do when you're really scared? You have to think of your favorite things, because then you don't feel so scared. And then she starts listing her favorite things, and she sings this song to the children. And what we wrote down is the first verse of this song, My Favorite Things. Now, for copyright reasons, I don't think I can play the song in our video now. So please allow me to try and sing it to you. Here we go. Raindrops on roses and whiskers on kittens, bright copper kettle and warm woolen mittens, brown paper packages tied up with string. These are a few of my favorite things. I think I'm not quite in tune, but this is the best I can do. I'm going to link to the song in the description notes, and please do go and watch it, because Julie Andrews is a much, much better singer than I am, and I'm sure you will enjoy listening to the full song. And there are many more verses that follow this first one. Now, let's get practicing. I have shown you now how to identify word and sentence stress and to follow a stress pattern, to describe some pictures, to establish a little verse. And I want you to write your favorite things and use exactly the same pattern that we have just used, because then you could get the song and you could sing your own verse, just like I did. So it goes like this. It's on the board here. I'm going to put it in the description notes as well, so you could just copy and paste it. You need to add the word and to the first and the third line. And then the last line obviously is, these are a few of my favorite things. Now, I gave you the example from the film, but of course I also wrote my own. So here is my little verse. I'm not going to sing it again, but I'm going to read it out as a poem. So here's my little verse. Mornings with sunshine and breakfast with croissants, coffee and reading and kissing my nieces, music and laughter with everyone there. These are a few of my favorite things. And these really are some of my favorite things. I love a lazy morning with a lot of sunshine, ideally breakfast in bed, and of course I love playing with my nieces, and I love having my family around. Now you've noticed that my verse sounds a little bit different at the end, because music and laughter with everyone there does not rhyme with things. So if you're really ambitious and you want your verse to rhyme, you need to think of a word that ends this line with a word that rhymes with things. And so I changed the line a little bit and said, music and laughter when everyone sings, these are a few of my favorite things. And sings and things rhyme, and so now you have a really nice verse and you could sing along to a version of the song. But my family doesn't really sing, not together. So it's a lovely verse now, it rhymes, but it isn't quite truthful. All right. Now, music and poetry can help us identify and hear syllables and stress, and that is word stress, but also sentence stress. And it's really easy, so I would say try it out. Have some fun, write your own verse and post it below. And you've probably noticed by now that this song really follows the same as a waltz. It's 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. So if you've ever danced and you know waltz, I'm sure you've heard one at least, then this is actually quite a familiar pattern already. So get creative, write your own verse, and then do please post it below. I would love to read your verses.